All right. Hello, everyone. This is going to be a not live VOD review. I'm in the Discord server right now, as you can see in the top left, the little overlay. So if anyone decides to hop in, they're welcome to ask questions. And in the future, the more I do of these, if you have time and you see me in here, you can hop in whenever. Okay, but let's get started with the actual VOD review. Okay. Get my notes. So, in this case, you recognize that they're going pretty heavy dive. They're going a pharmacy dive, except they're going ball monkey instead of a diva monkey, which means that I'm really not a fan of going all stuns against this comp. Not only does you've never played this comp before, it's not a great comp. Like, its win condition is not very clear. Like, you don't have your own win condition. It's just all like you're just trying to figure out how to stop their win condition of diving you, which we'll go over in a second. But this is not how you do it, especially because who do you stun? The monkey, and then you have no way to really follow up on that very well. I mean, you do have high damage with the Hanzo, but you have no utility. Like, maybe you got nade, and that's about it to help secure kills. Like, you're probably going to be stunning the ball and like the monkey a lot, but then you're probably not going to kill them, because even if you kill the monkey, you exhausted all your resources, and then there's still a ball just wrecking havoc with the pharmacy. Or you exhaust your stuns on the ball, you kill the ball, and now there's still a monkey and a pharmacy and a tracer that you got to deal with. So I don't like this. This is not how you counter dive. You don't counter dive with stuns. That is a very comp mentality type thing. You counter dive with positioning and target focus. Stuns are a helpful tool once you have the correct positioning and target focus to punish dives. Obviously, like, you go break to help you deal with the dive, but if your positioning is terrible and your target focus is terrible, then those stuns aren't going to do anything to help you. This tank line provides zero ability to hold space. Like, there's hook, and that's pretty much it. And it doesn't create any backline pressure. Like, usually you go a Sigma ball comp. Sigma obviously is great at keeping himself up, but he's not that great at holding space. Zarya is the same, essentially has the same purpose in that Sigma ball comp, but she's not particularly great at holding space. But the reason that comp works is because you're threatening their backline. So it's not like they can aggress that much, because they still have to deal with your threats. Otherwise, their backline is going to get ripped apart. And then their ability to push into your team is minimal. But we don't have that. We have a very weak front line and no ability to pressure the backline at all. So I also don't like this support line. It's very greedy, as I talked about earlier. It provides zero utility that might help focusing down a single target, like Discord Orb. Like, Ana provides the nades and the sleep. Nade is great. I think the Ana's fine in this comp. But the Brig has a bash and a flail. Like, it's all stuns and CC. But that's not, like, that would be, like, I would be less concerned if this wasn't your final answer. If you made these swaps and then played well, as we'll talk about later about how you can play well, then I would be less concerned. But now you're not playing well, and this provides zero utility. Like, this comp, we're very slow because we don't have a Lucio. We're not damage boosting our DPS to punish these dives. We're discording Zen. A lot of people think Zen is just bad against dive comps. Zen is actually fantastic against certain dive comps, because Zen can just discord the tank that jumps in and you melt that tank. It provides a lot of value as long as you can protect the Zen. But we don't have any of those options with this comp. So Ball Hog would have been better because the ball is going to be able to pressure the Ana more, which makes their dives far weaker because they're not going to be healed up the entire time. Or really Ball Zarya. Ball Zarya is probably better because Hog has to worry about the Ana nade. Zarya does not. So that creates backline pressure that they have to respond to and takes more pressure off of our supports. Also would have liked to see Mercy Echo to help follow up with the ball and assist our Kree in dealing with the Pharah, who's going to switch to Echo later, but that's okay. You can still help your Kree deal with the Echo. And then Ana or Zen. Zen provides more value than Ana through Discord and can Harmony Orb like our ball or something that otherwise our Zen wouldn't be able to peek because peeking into space you don't control. But Ana still provides a lot of value in herself, and if you're just not confident in playing in a Mercy Zen comp, then that's fine. And this is a little off script here, but before I left the voice channel, I heard something very displeasing. I heard Ryujin say, "We can't go Mercy Zen. That's no heals." Ryujin, that's a very comp mentality right there. Not a very scrim mentality. Mercy Zen is perfectly fine as long as you play correctly. Like, your Mercy Zen is very popular in dive because it provides a lot of utility. Yeah, it doesn't provide a lot of healing, but that's okay because you're just planning on taking very short and quick fights, utilizing the Discord Orb and damage boost to burst down key targets. You don't need that much healing because you shouldn't be in long fights and taking that much damage. So I was not happy when I heard that. So let's continue this. Okay. Right now, like, we should know what they're doing. Like, we probably should have realized that they were going a dive comp. Definitely by now we know that. And we're playing right into their comp. I think the only people probably positioned correctly is Zeke pushing cart. He's probably going to be the one pushing cart, understandable. And Obscura is taking cover behind this wall here. I like it. Those are probably the only good things. And maybe you could argue that Dumpster is like in the correct position as well. I'm definitely not as concerned about Dumpster, but Alex and Adam need to be glued to your Ana right now. You guys should be behind that wall. I mean, Alex is kind of close to Obscura, but still, you weren't originally. Like, you guys, like, it is your job, Adam, to protect the Ana. Like, that is why you went Brig, is to protect the Ana. So do that. You should be behind the wall right now so you can avoid the poke from the Pharah. And that means that when this ball dives behind the wall, the ball is not going to be able to get heals from the Ana, which means he can't just stay there forever. So this is not great. We're just standing out in the middle of the open against their pharmacy dive comp. Let's see how it turns out.
Lights out.
Very disappointing that Ryujin Obscura don't try and follow up on the ball. Okay. We're continuing to move forward here. Like, Obscura, we should probably still be playing back here. Ryujin can try and start contesting, trying to take this high ground from the Tracer Mercy, like our Hog is doing. But we should not be too aggressive, especially when we're down 2 people. Like, they're down a few, and they're giving us the cart push accordingly. But just, this is a little aggressive. That was a good pick. Yeah. All right. So, and this is another issue with pathing. Pathing is going to be a very common issue here. This is probably the easiest part of this entire map to avoid being dived. Like, It is. Do you know why? It's because this entire right side is enclosed and has only a few openings. So if you're a squishy that doesn't want to be dived, like our Kree and our Brig, and especially our Hanzo, then you should be playing inside this room. That you still have a sight line onto their entire team when they decide to go this way, but now they can't really dive you, because then if you back up this way, if their tanks chase you, then they're losing their support's line of sight, and now they're in an enclosed area where they're not going to be able to, where their escape options are very limited. But instead, we're just going to play out in the open exactly where they want us to play. Like, it's ridiculous. So I want you to look at this fantastic dive that they're about to do. Like, and it's great. And you get to see exactly how you're playing into their win condition. This is where the Tracer's coming from. She's going to be able to get anyone that's retreating. And then they have the Echo in the air, who is going to be pressuring you from above. And now their tanks are going to jump onto you. Like right on point. You're being attacked from 3 different angles right now. That's not good. You don't want to be attacked from 3 different angles. You want to position so you can minimize the amount of different angles that they can take onto you. Because otherwise, they're going to find picks and you're not going to be able to deal with it because there's so many different people from different angles occupying like different spaces. Like you're going to be overwhelmed, overrun. It's not going to end well for you. And we can see that happen right now. Now, before we see that happen, let's say we actually positioned inside this room right here. Their Echo can't just shoot at us, right? Echo can't do that anymore. She'd have to drop down into like a space like here where it's much more favorable and we could just like land a hook or something on her, just hit a shot. Like it's much harder to hit her here compared to if she's just on the ground trying to poke at us. The Tracer would be forced to also go inside. Like she won't be able to contribute because we're inside here. And then their tanks could also try and get inside here, but they can't dive past this like entryway, so they'd be in front of us, and then this is a very long space that they have to dive, so they'll be taking a lot of poke to get there. They can still set up 3 different angles, but now it's in an enclosed area and their angles are far weaker. Their escape options most of their escape options are gone. It is far more favorable for us to set up here. Who would be pushing cart? Probably Zeke, just because a single nade onto Dumpster just kills him. And he'd probably be able to find more value pressuring off. Like, does a Tracer really want to go into this room that we're all in while Dumpster has hook? Probably not. She probably doesn't want to. She might have to try and find value, but she does not want to. And just because Sigma has a lot of sustain, he'll be able to survive the poke unless they actually commit to a dive, in which we'd be in a better position to punish them. All right, so we will continue now. It's like, that's crazy. You had all the stuns. How did you lose against the dive? Like, yeah, the stuns are great. They let you kill the monkey who just got rezzed. But that's not going to lead you to win against dive. You can't just go stuns and then just win against dive. You need to actually think about where you're pathing and positioning and staying in order to prevent the dive from getting value and to not play into their win condition. We were positioned terribly. They recognize that and easily, just like after all the stuns were absorbed into their monkey, they just kind of ran over us and we couldn't do anything anymore because we had no more utility. We were down one, which is true. We were down to support, but if our positioning was the same and we did have a support, I can't imagine anything different would have happened. Uh-oh. Did I go back? Yes, I did. Okay. Dumpster, you gotta die faster. Like, let's see. Let's go back a little bit. Yeah. That's just not acceptable. Like, die. Don't. You took a breather before that, and then Obscura is keeping you up. Like, Obscura, don't put yourself at risk to help this dead man walking. Like, the reset calls need to be better. Otherwise, you will just run out of time. So we do, let's see. Yeah, I'm very happy. You do a good job taking out the ball, like, and just like ruining his positioning. That's great. I'm not sure why anyone except the Hanzo is beneath the bridge right now. Like, how is Zeke so far forward and we're behind the bridge? How did that happen? We're scared to take space because there's an echo shooting us from all the way over here. Is that it? Like, we can't pass through this choke because there's an echo right here. I don't like that. Don't like that at all. So they used to, when they had... Yeah, we should have pushed into this room already, ideally. And then we would have been able to help out Zeke. Like, very easily we would have been able to help out Zeke. Like, imagine if we went into this room. If we went into this room, like we rotate around here, ball probably doesn't engage. Like, this is a very brief window of opportunity for him to pile drive, and even if he does, we just maybe sleep him and keep going. So that's not a concern. And then look at where their Echo, Mercy, Tracer are all positioned. They're over here. If we go over and just take this space and help out from here, like, their positioning is now terrible. We have ruined their positioning. They wanted to engage, like, they probably want to engage somewhere around here. Right? That's what they're hoping on doing. Because then their ball can come from here. But we ruined that ball position, so that was good. They can come from here, and their tanks can jump from here. While all at the same time staying within their Ana's LOS. This is great. This is where the kill box is. And we can totally avoid that if we just decide to rotate through here. Like, it's so easy to avoid this. We just need to recognize where these kill boxes are and where they want to engage with us and not go there. All right. Zeke, you get dived and you rotate the wrong way. You need to rotate into your team, not away from your team. So now it's impossible for our support line to help you, unfortunately. And great! We played exactly into their win condition. We just, like, it's amazing. We went forward, again, the same thing that happened last time, and then they responded with the ball diving in. I don't know how Dumpster got over there, but their Tracer's going to come in a second. I think they get a nade onto us. We do get the Tracer. That's good. So, but this was, I mean, they win the fight. They already got the picks that they needed. I really want us to reset here. Like, they have both supports and an Echo. unless we find a pick on this Echo right now, you should probably rotating back. But we have both our sports and both our DPS. Either you be very aggressive or get out. I think both is fine, but you have to make a decision.
Adaptive circuits engaged. McCree.
I don't like that. Oh, this would have been so much better if you just high noon the high ground or dragon the high ground. That would have messed up their support's positioning so they couldn't assist their Kree anymore, making a follow-up so much easier, and their advance so much worse. They would probably have to back up unless the monkey decides to dive in. Just these ults aren't coordinated. I'm not going to talk about the ults at all, but I could. But that's not the biggest concern. It's the positioning that's the biggest concern. And then once we fix the positioning, then I can start talking about the ultimates.
60 seconds. With it. It's high noon.
Dumpster is once again the master staggerer as he takes a breather as we attempt to reset, giving them more ult charge and putting his spawn timer farther back.
30 seconds.
In fact, that fight was probably lost. Like both Zeke and Dumpster. I don't know exactly why Zeke was there, but probably both of you could have been running into their team. This is very well done from the enemy team. Look at what they're doing. They press tab. Good on them. Like, they recognize that we went Sombra, and now their Echo and Ball are spamming the choke. And do find Ryujin. Not necessarily anything you guys did wrong, but just was good from the enemies. Good for the enemy team.
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah. Zeke, I would have much rather, especially like if you're going Sigma against dive, save your flex to counter their dive, especially their ball monkey dives. Like you'll be able to find a lot of value. But like if you don't wait for them to dive, then they still have their movement cooldowns available to them so that they don't get hit by your flux. So important to remember. Once again, we walk into their kill box. Luckily, I think we get pile drived, which lifts us up so we can see them. And then the nano high noon kills them, which is great. I'm glad we punished their mistake, but that's could have been much, much better. I do get that we're also running out of time, which might be why we don't rotate inside. I mean, the reason we don't rotate inside is because we don't know that's the correct course of action. But even if it was, if you guys did know that, and you want to touch cart, then I kind of get it. Great job here, Ryujin. Well done. Well done.
The payload has reached the checkpoint.
So you did it. You got a lot of value from that high noon. So that was good. That was a good rock. So let's see if we learn our lesson and that we position much better this time, knowing that we're acknowledging where they want to dive, what their kill box is. Because first of all, we really should. It's not easy for us to contest the high ground. Like, I get that. But if we can't do that, then we just got to play around it. Or, like we did in the final fight, then we rotate to take the high ground from them. Like, something needs to be done. They're going to get a lot of value from this high ground. Either we play around it better, or we take the high ground. Instead, we do the worst possible thing and position everyone here. So to know why this is terrible positioning, what makes a good dive? You have 10 seconds. Time's up. Dive wants to leap as short a distance as possible to reach a key target. Why? Because a short distance means that it takes less time for them to reach their destination, which means they're going to take less poke, less time to take damage, and it requires less cooldowns that they need to use. Also, they want to dive while staying in LOS with their supports, ideally. This means that they can continue to be healed and avoid kind of taking damage over time and be in the fight for a longer period of time to make sure that they can secure the kill. It makes it harder for them to punish them when they try to get out. So, and also, it gives them access to their support's utility, like nade. So, it's really good for them that we're, number one, all on cart and very accessible from a high ground that we can't contest. Number two, positioned in a way, positioned in a way where it's really hard for us to retreat. We can go inside this building. That's good. But then we lose line of sight of anyone outside. I mean, actually, that's not really the point. I think you guys you can retreat, and you do. I think Obscura does rotate inside this room. But the first point still applies. Everyone is positioned in a space where they can get to. Like, this monkey probably didn't even have to use his jump cooldown. He's going to get a lot of value from using it, and he can, but he didn't have to. Ball doesn't need to use grapple. He can just roll off and just pile drive and hit everyone on our team. So that's really bad, number one. Number two, we're also just staying in their support's sightline. Their support can just stay up here and just shoot the tanks until the tanks win the fight for them. And also, this is a pretty easy place for Ana to just throw a nade into and get a ton of value. Okay. So what I would like to see is to see our supports and our hog positioned right here next to the building. That way, because let's look at it from a top-up perspective. Oh, hello. If we have our supports positioned here, or even farther back, their supports can't see the tanks. They can't see the tanks without dropping and losing the high ground, which they probably don't want to do, and will probably just stay on the high ground and poke the people who are going to be on cart, which is just going to be our Sigma. Who can handle that? We'll have our Sigma playing on cart right here. And our Kree, probably not going to be that far behind him. Maybe he is playing over here. He could be playing over here. Like, all of these are going to... Maybe he's playing... I think maybe you could get away playing right here. But all of these are decent options. So that means the tanks can dive the Sigma. But now, all of a sudden, now they're at threat of... We're going to be able to heal our Sigma without our healers being threatened. And we can try and land a hook onto whoever dives the Sigma. Then we got our Kree near there to help punish whoever tries to dive the Sigma. So now the Sigma's not a great dive target because he's also pretty difficult to kill, especially with all of the help he's getting. So they could try and dive our supports. Well, to do that, this probably should be positioned a little bit farther back. Like over here. To get over to here, they're going to have to use a cooldown. Monkey's going to have to jump, or Ball can just roll there, but this is a longer dive than to just go to here, right? So they're going to be taking more poke and have to exhaust their cooldowns to get there. And once they're there, their supports won't have line of sight. Well, their Mercy will, and that's it. Their Ana won't have line of sight onto them unless she takes herself off this advantaged position, where now our Kree, who is positioned in any one of these three spaces, can try and kill the Ana. So that's how we want it to go. But we can look at how it actually went right now. Let's remove this.
Changing position.
It's crazy. You had stuns. I don't get it. I mean, and this is just going to be an instant replay. Like, we didn't learn. We're just banging our head against the wall. Like, I don't need to tell you what's wrong here. Like, nothing changes. We do the same thing and don't lose a lesson at all. They didn't have to use any ults. They could have won that without any ults.
60 seconds remaining. I'm going home.
That's ridiculous. Now we're in last fight. And we're going to rotate onto the high ground. Glad we're all going in a very single file line.
30 seconds remaining.
Okay.
10 seconds remaining.
So, at this point, Hawkins or Sigma probably should have dropped, right? We got the high ground close to the cart. Now we probably just leave our hog on the cart. Great, we can do that. That's not a problem. And start getting the cart pushing. We don't have to worry about that. They're not going to be able to burst down a tank that quickly, not without us being able to punish it. So that's supposed to happen. It's also a mystery to me about why our supports are so afraid of playing near corners or just like walls for that matter. That should drop. Okay. Actually, all right. Never mind. I was gonna rank on Obscura and Adam. I guess I'll rank on Adam a little bit because Adam's wasn't near Obscura at all, really, for not playing around here and just kind of poking right here, making it very hard for them to dive you. But we do it because we think we have to touch the cart because our tanks didn't touch the cart. So, all right, I'm not as concerned about that. I'm very disappointed that we committed Flux, EMP, and High Noon all at once. Like Flux and High Noon or EMP and High Noon would have been perfectly fine. But the execution was terrible, and we do both of those. So I can explain what happened. Instead of using two of the ults, we use our EMP, we use our Flux, and we use our High Noon, which lets us kill their Ana, which is great, I guess. We committed 3 ults to kill their Ana, which they then res because we're not paying any attention to and are trying to hack their Echo again or someone instead of trying to deny the res. So that's awesome. Let's see. They then dive our supports because EMP didn't hit any of the people on the dive team, which are out of position because they tried to touch the cart and then realized that they were being dived, I guess, and they didn't jump off, or we had to nano the Kree. And they kill our Kree. So now we have 0 ults to stop their dive, except for a whole hog, which could be good. Our supports drop because they have to. Zeke went a mile into the air for to kill the Ana. I don't know why you were so far in the air to kill the Ana. Like, I think when you ult with Sigma, like, it feels like you have to fly up really high. You don't have to, unless you're trying to take the high ground. Or it's easier to hit shots that way. It's just going to make our return, like, much slower, like getting back to the fight afterwards. Then Dumpster managed to get naded, despite the Ana being EMP'd and fluxed and high nooned, which is incredible. Yeah, and which is what happened this fight.
Dein Schutzengel ist da.
It cannot be stopped.
Round 1.
So I don't want to say that there was no thinking going on, because there was thinking going on. Like, you guys rotated on the high ground because after 2 attempts you realized that going main was not a great idea, especially, but I mean, it wasn't a great idea with that positioning. Don't let what I described happen again, and you'll have a much better time. Use your ults wisely. All right, and we can fast forward a bit.
Initiating match. Initiating. 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
Attackers incoming.
I like this, right? You guys are going
Stop
a
the
very
payload.
heavy brawl comp against their dive comp, but you're positioned inside a very enclosed space that's very hard for them to dive, which is great. And the early hold means that you'll have more time to take another fight elsewhere where your positioning is advantageous. You are afraid of nade and flankers, but you have bubbles for the nade, and you got Lucio and Mei to discourage flanking. So it should be very hard for them to break into this room. We've got it locked down. And then we leave. Why? You were set up to stall the payload for an extended period of time. Like, this is a great position to be in. They don't even have nade anymore. So why did we leave the room? And we didn't even go speed into their team. We sped away from their team main. It makes no sense to me about why you left here. You should make it so that they are trying to get you guys out of that room, and you're applying a lot of pressure to the people who get close to that door. You're stalling from that door. Like, that's what should be happening. But instead, we just leave the room into an open street for seemingly no reason. I don't really get it. I don't get it. Maybe you'll tell me after I upload this video, and it's something I'm not thinking about. But like, we saw it for the people who watched the Steel Series tournament. This is exactly what they did. They went a bunker comp, or not a bunker comp, but brawl comp, and just stood inside this room and stalled for like a minute, and then they had another fight on streets later where they could take an advantageous position. That's great. So, but just do that. I don't know why we rotated away. I don't really like this immortality. Everyone is above half health. So now we don't have immortality. Let's continue. We kill their monkey. That's great. We pin deep into the enemy team. They hit a nade. And they punish our run for going in very deep. But, like, it doesn't really matter at this point because we didn't... I don't know why we just didn't go back into this red room and reset, heal ourselves. Like, that's great. You stopped them from pushing. So, reset inside this red room. Or go main, where their echo can just fly up and shoot you and you guys can't do anything about it. Their tracer can blink behind you and their tanks can dive you. Like, also, don't run away at this point. This is a big thing. We're not resetting anymore. Like, that fight was lost. It was very clearly lost. Like, when was it lost? Probably here. We lost our Rhine. We lost our May. We have no immortality. I doubt we have many more cooldowns. And they have a full 6. No projected. Like, we should be running into them. Instead, we're going to run away. Making it so we're staggered. Yeah. It's... Don't do that. We've talked about this. Someone needs to call the fight. And maybe... Okay, maybe we need to refine our voice roles and just be very clear, like, who is calling when we're down, when we're up. Someone else needs to call reset. If that sounds like something you want to do, if you want to be that person, just let me know. We can do that, but this is not okay because this can't be happening. I forget the spawns are so close. Oh, wait, no, they're not close. You guys get back fast. Thanks, Lucio. All right. So. Oh, hold on. Did I miss something? Oh, gotcha. This right rotation is terrible. It's terrible. We're going to see once again that they don't need to dive very far. They can stay within their support's LOS. It makes us very vulnerable to the echo. Like, it's... Which we have no ability to deal with. It's very, very bad. What we should have done is speed left side and then go into this room where we can... I mean, if we were fast, we might have been able to, like, contest it from here, rotate all the way around. That would have been great. We definitely would have been able to speed this way and contest from this window if we hadn't staggered. But because we staggered, we might have to only be able to contest from this window. But that's still fine. We can still do that. So if we rotate through the left, their echo, once again, like, it's the same thing. We talked about this. It's no different. They're going to have to try and dislodge us if they want to push the cart. And we can try and punish their mistakes. Then we're going to see... Alright. So this is an unfortunate stick. Right. We should have immortality'd it. We just didn't respond that fast. But it happens. And it's hard to prevent. Like, we got the immortality. That's how we prevent it. It didn't come out. Oh, well. And really, like, it probably shouldn't have hit Obscura. Obscura just kind of walks into it. Oh, I know why we didn't. That's what I thought. We're trying to put up the amplification matrix, so We weren't ready to immortality. Like I said, it's unfortunate. I'm not going to rag on you guys for this. Even if that didn't happen, you're going to lose. You will lose. Because let's look at where they're positioned. They've got a monkey behind us. So we're in the middle of the street. Just in the middle of the street against dive. There is a monkey behind us. There is a tracer, well, at this point, to the right of us. She was over here, which is still to the right. So she's to the right of us. We have an Echo Mercy above us. We have, let's see, who else is there? And we've got a ball to the left of us. Great. And we have an Ana in front of us. So let's count all the angles that they have onto us. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 different angles that our one Rhine has to protect us against. Rhine doesn't do this. This is a very well executed dive on their part. So good on the enemy team. They have a very good idea of what they're doing in a macro sense. But this is not okay. Like, if we rotate into this building here, once again, they are all restricted to go into this tight room where we have May and we have Bap to keep everyone healed, and Reaper to punish anyone who gets too close, Lucio to protect against flankers. Like, it's very hard for them to break us in here, but because we're just sitting out in the open against their entire team, taking 5 different angles against us, you're gonna lose. You will lose, and we do. So no surprise there, even without the stick. Not okay.
Der Kampf ist noch nicht vorbei.
The payload has reached the checkpoint. Lifting off.
Okay, and now we obviously want to control high ground, because high ground is exactly what they want to be taking, so that their dives are very easy to set up and stage, and we don't want them to have high ground. We got time, so it's not like we're rushing back. But despite that, we go low ground. For whatever reason. Like, we obviously know that they want to take high ground. We know we have no ability to really control the high ground that well once we're on the low ground. Like, why are we on the low ground? This makes no sense. Their tanks would require 0 cooldowns to reach our back line when they're on the high ground here. If we want to rotate to the cart, their tanks just need to fall onto our support line to get there. And then Monkey just shifts to take the high ground again, get healed up, and then does the same exact thing. Like, it's such a good position for them to be in. So we should be trying to take it from them, not just giving it to them. Time is not a concern. I don't want to hear that excuse. Cart's all the way over here. You've got time. So I like that we force them off the high ground, Alex. I mean, I don't think you really even forced them off the high ground. Like, Monkey obviously wanted to dive our supports, and he is. So that's, like, he was going to be dropping anyways, but we're on him. But now, well, let's see how it goes.
Adaptive circuits engaged. Reinhardt.
Okay. This was almost good. You guys were fairly collected. The grouping could have been much better, but you were fairly collected. And luckily the enemy team didn't do a great job trying to dive you as you rotated. They probably should have engaged much earlier. It didn't let you engage before you got close to their Ana, but they that was their bad. Problem is, we lose target focus. Ryujin is behind shooting the Mercy that's pocketed by the Echo. Immortality was used, but for some reason Obscura walked out of it and into a mine. Zeke tried to pin the most mobile hero in the game and went far back into this red room, and not with the rest of his team. Zeke, not now. I'm talking a little bit a while ago, Adam was using speed, or was healing instead of using speed to try and get his full health Zarya and Bubbled Reaper out of the fight to regroup with the Rhine. And Dumpster is forced to use both bubbles to keep Alex up, who was dueling the primaling monkey that had Mercy healing him. This is good. Like, quite honest, like, obviously, when you say this out loud, it sounds terrible. I should be able to read out what you're doing, and it should sound great. But, like, it's not great. So, we're going to work on that. So, this is what I would have liked to have happened instead. We take the high ground. We speed high ground. We leave our BAP up top on the high ground, so he has great line of sight onto our team. And that means if the monkey or someone wants to contest him, then they have to use cooldowns to try and get there. And even if they go onto the BAP, the Tracer won't be able to get onto him. It's just the monkey and maybe the ball. They're probably only going to send one to them. And even if that happens, then BAP just drops down and joins the rest of his team. Let's see. We attempt to collapse onto their Ana. And when we do that, their Echo and their ball will use their ults. We respond to that with Blizzard and use Immortalities to stop the mines from getting kills. The Blizzard destroys the mines, and because we have great target focus, we take out the Ana and maybe even pop the Echo out of her ult. Then we continue to speed onto our next target because Yana is dead, and we can Death Blossom if we need to. And when we win the fight, we speed back onto the high ground and continue to cycle our ults. That is what I would have liked to happen. It's not what I saw, and there's just obvious room for improvement. This should not be happening in a scrim. Look at the spectator overlay. We've got our Zarya over here. We've got our Reaper up top. We have our Lucio below the Reaper. Our Ryan is over here. Our Mei is all the way over here. It's not good. We stress target calling, and we stress making calls a lot. We've gotten a lot better at making calls. But, yeah, Alex is asking why I'm here. I'll go tell him. We stress why we make calls. Now start listening and thinking about the calls we're making. I think if we were listening to what other people were saying, this would not be happening. And if it's not a listening problem, then it's what we're saying that needs to be fixed, and we need to think about what we're saying. It's one of these. I wasn't there listening to you guys, so I don't know what the comms were like exactly, but that's kind of what it looks like.
Systems in overdrive. The payload is approaching its destination.
All right.
Victory.
This map is really just an example of how crucial positioning and pathing is, especially against dive. you should be thinking about how they're setting up based off of the positioning information that Ryujin is telling you and where their kill boxes are. And then plan accordingly. How do you path to get around their kill boxes or to get just to rotate through their kill boxes as fast as possible? And then if you do that, winning will become so much easier. So just play to your win condition and don't play into their win condition, and you will win. But if you don't do that, then you don't win. And this was the map talking about what their win condition is, and I didn't really explain what our win condition necessarily was because, well, for the first comp that we swapped to, we didn't really have one. Our win condition was just trying to counter their win condition, which we saw how that turned out. And then for the brawl, our win condition was just kind of stalling for time, right? By taking advantageous positions and then trying to punish anyone that tried to get into our or break us out of our advantageous positions. All right, I'm going to go see if Alex wants to talk about it. See if they had any questions. Okay. I'm not cutting this out because I'm not editing this because I don't have time for that. But we'll give it a second. I hope this is clear. I mean, if you got any questions, you can just DM me on Discord. Be more than happy to answer them. And if you have any concerns about or questions about what I said, need clarification, then do that. Alex said no. All right, well, I will have a great night. We've got the match Wednesday, which should be in the announcement that I will be attaching this video to. And I will see you guys then. Good luck.